Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S23 and compare it against the Nothing Phone 2 and see which specific phone you should go and pick up. Now, both these phones are very interesting. If you want to pick up either one of these devices, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off side by side, these two phones are a little different. The Nothing Phone 2 is a massive phone, as you can tell. The Galaxy S23 is a little bit of a smaller device. So on the front of the Galaxy S23, we had a 6.1-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's a 1080p panel, and overall, I still think it's a very, very good-looking display. 120Hz. It's a hole punch display, as we all kind of know now. It's centered, just like with the Nothing Phone 2. And this is a very good panel. I definitely do think this is a better screen overall than the Nothing Phone 2. Viewing angles are very, very sharp, and Samsung makes some of the best displays you could probably ever get on any phone. So I'm really, really happy with the way this panel was made, and I still think it looks very good in this day and age. Now with the Nothing Phone 2, this is a little bit of a bigger phone, as you guys can tell. I mean, it's a bigger phone pretty much in every single area. It is a 6.7-inch LTPO OLED display. So this is also 120Hz, which is really nice. Also 1080p. I will say though, the screen itself is actually not bad. It's overall kind of like a cheaper phone, I would say. It's not a cheap phone by any means, but it is I guess a cheaper phone than like $1,000 flagship that I guess this thing is kind of like rivaling against. And I think this is a good phone for what you're getting. The bezel around it isn't that crazy. It's still a very good looking phone. And I actually do like the flat sides that you're getting on the Nothing Phone 2. If we actually take a look at the sides, the Galaxy S23 had an interesting design. I talked about this a lot, but like it's curved a little bit, which is very interesting. With the Nothing Phone 2, it's a flat display. So I actually like that a lot coming from something like the Nothing Phone 2. The Galaxy S23, it's a little tiny curved, which I kind of like. It's definitely not that bad of a device. But the Nothing Phone 2 is definitely, I think, a little bit of a better job, or does a better job from that specific perspective. USB-C ports on the bottom, and on the back, you're getting, again, a very interesting camera setup. So Nothing Phone 2 has a dual camera setup. The Galaxy S23 has a triple camera setup. Very cool stuff. I love that type of camera setup between both, and there's not really too much to complain about from that specific perspective. However, we do have glass backs. You do have a standard frosted glass back on the Galaxy S23. With the Nothing Phone 2 has a standard glass back, but the craziest thing is this thing actually has these lights on the back. So it's actually a really nice touch, and I'm actually really, really happy with the lights on the back of the Nothing Phone 2. I think it looks very cool, looks very sharp, and that's something that's really cool going on with this device that is not necessarily there on the S23, but I do like the frosted glass probably, for the most part. Both that wireless and reverse wireless charging, and that kind of covers it up on the outside. Both are very solid, and I like these phones a lot, but there's always been something with the Galaxy S23 that I liked, and I definitely do think that is the more premium phone than the Nothing Phone 2. Now, in terms of software, this is going to be something that's going to be a little different between both. So the Galaxy S23, we do have One UI, which I love. I love One UI a lot. I've actually used to hate One UI, but now it's kind of grown on me. With the Nothing Phone 2, that device is kind of in this weird spot where, it's on stock Android, which is really cool, but we really don't know how long these phones are necessarily going to last. I think they're going to at least last as long as probably like the Samsung Galaxy that year probably. But there's only been like 2 phones, and the first one of this one came out last year. So we really don't have like a long history of these types of phones lasting. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. With Samsung phones, there's been so many that we know, typically these are how long they last. With Nothing phones, they could promise you X amount of years, but anything could happen. So I remember with the Essential phone, it was a very similar kind of process. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with this device. But hopefully it does last for as long as it can, because that would be a very, very cool thing. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these devices. Very, very interesting stuff here, because with the Nothing Phone 2, we're getting that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset inside with 8 gigs of RAM, but it does go up to 12 gigs of RAM on this model, but this one has 8. But the Galaxy S23 has that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 8 gigs of RAM. So kind of an interesting thing between these two. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background. Now let's get into it. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. Okay, S23 I think was faster there. Messages 3, 2, 1. S23 faster again. Camera 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Let's take a photo 3, 2, 1. And they both have this night mode thing. Nothing Phone 2 is faster. Ugly sounds. I don't know why they're using those types of weird sounds in them. Let's go and load up some of these third-party apps. Now, of course, with the Samsung one, we have to load up Game Launcher, which is very, very annoying. I don't even know why this is still happening. Let's go and do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. Now, I've already opened up all these games and apps on all these. So there shouldn't really be too many issues there. Okay, so you can see the Galaxy S23 actually took a little bit more time. There could be a lot of reasons for that. I thought the S23 was going to actually be a little bit faster there, so kind of sad about that. Let's go and click play, 3, 2, 1, okay, let's get into it. And I don't really think there's going to be that big of a difference in terms of this one either. But you can kind of get the idea that, both are going to be pretty solid when it comes down to it. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get back into Game Launcher. Let's go ahead and do Snake First Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And the S23 was slightly faster there. In terms of the gameplay between both, I'm sure it's going to be very similar. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go and get into Game Launcher once again. Let's go and try something like Thank You, 3, 2, 1. And Nothing Phone 2 actually got into that very, very fast. The Galaxy S23 is slightly slower. Once again, let's go and get out of here. Let's go and try one of these ones again. Let's try Roblox 3, 2, 1, but I'm not even logged into this one. So there we go. That probably covers that one up. Let's go and try another one. Let's go and try Subway Surfers 3, 2, 1. And the Nothing Phone 2 again was the faster one, where the S23 is slightly slower. And let's end it off with Stack 3, 2, 1. Now, of course, between every single gameplay comparison, there's going to be lots of things that are going to be changing. And I would probably say the Nothing Phone 2 is up there. And it's good because the Nothing Phone 2 has a very similar chipset to the S23. It's not like this chipset is like the watered down chipset of this one. No. This one has a very, very similar styling chipset to this one, which I'm really actually happy to see. So I think that in and of itself is a really cool thing. And that's just, again, one of those things to kind of keep in mind. So in terms of the speed comparison, I would probably say the S23 has the faster chipset, but the Nothing Phone 2 today probably was the faster phone when it came down to it. So very, very, very interesting stuff. Now, in terms of the cameras, like I mentioned, this is probably one of the biggest differences between these two. So the Nothing Phone 2 has that dual camera setup, wide and ultra-wide camera. The S23 has that wide ultra-wide telephoto lens. Very cool. I like having those types of camera lenses. But with the Galaxy S23, there's no competition. This phone can do 4K at 60 on the front and the back. The Nothing Phone 2 can only do 4K at 60 on the back and 1080p on the front. But the Galaxy S23 can also do 8K on the back too, which is insane stuff. Now, the Galaxy S23, I really do feel like this is probably one of the better cameras out there. This thing can give you really good videos and really good, photos. 30x zoom right there, as you can see. Just on a photo, you can do 30x zoom, and you still maintain 0.6x zoom on the outside, which is honestly very, very nice stuff to have. You're still maintaining things like, portrait mode here. You still have video mode, portrait video as well. And under more, you have a lot of options. So One UI has a lot of, built-in options within their camera, which has always been something that's so cool. And that's something that I love about this specific camera. With the Nothing Phone 2, this is a good camera. It's not amazing. It's like a good camera for this type of phone. And with this thing, you're still getting a very solid, lens for the most part. It's not great, but you're getting 10x zoom as far as I can tell. And I think you're getting 0.6x zoom on the outside as well. So you're basically getting 3 times more zoom on the S23 than on this one. You're still getting things like portraits. You're still getting video, slow-mo. It's a pretty basic camera. You're definitely not buying this one because of the camera. And as you can see, there's really not too many options. You do have expert mode, which is pretty cool, but most phones have that type of capability now. So this in and of itself is a very, very, I would say, average camera, for the type of device you're getting in 2023. So to kind of sum it up, what I'll definitely tell you is I definitely do think a phone like the Nothing Phone 2 is a decent phone, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying this phone over something like the S23. I think the Galaxy S23 is a much more flagship type of device. I mean, this thing is smaller, so if you want a bigger phone, the Nothing Phone 2 is automatically there for you. But this is a pretty good phone at every single area. Maybe the battery life is better on the Nothing Phone 2, but I've had the S23 for a couple months now, and this has been a solid device that I like a lot. But I do think the Nothing Phone 2 is an awesome device, and I like it a lot too. But I definitely do think with something like the S23, this is probably the better option for probably a majority of people. But I would still say the Nothing Phone 2 for its price is actually not a bad deal either. So that pretty much covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that helps me so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video.